Hi, Tim Two Wheels here. This video is in response to several viewer questions that I've had in relation to the lowered front fender that you've seen on my KLR in other videos. Currently I have the Ufo Supermoto Fender mounted to an Eagle mic fork brace, which is how I lowered it. I'm going to show you the details of how that works, and I'm also going to show you a comparison to a different front fender, which is the Ufo Supermoto Style 2. I'm replacing the Acerus fender with the Ufo fender, and I'll show you how I'm doing that and why I'm doing that. So stick around, we'll get started right after this. All right, so just a little comparison here to show you the difference. So with the Acerus, however it's pronounced, Supermoto fender on here, with the cutouts I was getting a little bit of flex. So on the Eagle mic fork brace I had to make some cutouts in order to get it to set on there, but ultimately I ended up raising the fender by putting longer spacers in here and getting it up off of my tire. But now because of the cuts it does get some wiggle in here when I'm going down the road. And I don't like that. The Acerus fender was on the bike when I got it. It was in the upper position. This, for comparison, is the Ufo Supermoto fender. Now this is Style 2. There is a Style 1 and a Style 2. Style 1 does not have this flare out here on the front. It is just more of a straight fender. I happen to like kind of having that flare a little bit. I like the look of it. But you'll notice, or at least to me, the Ufo fender just has kind of a cleaner look to it. It doesn't have all the lines and this deep V recess in here like the Acerus. It does have a bit of a recess, but it's just more smooth lines. Additionally, in the back, it does not have the big vents where it lets water and debris fly up through. It just has these smaller side vents in here. Since my fender is mounted low, the vents are really useless because I don't need them to let air pass through to get to the radiator. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off and just give you a closer look between the two. All right, so in this shot I want to give you a close-up view of the Eagle mic fork brace. Now, I'm not going to take it all off of here just to show it to you off the bike, so I just want to show you on the bike. First of all, this bracket, for those of you who aren't familiar, this black bracket that comes here and then across here, that is the Eagle mic front fork brace for the KLR650. Now, even though this video is focused on lowering the fender, I just wanted to show you the primary purpose of the Eagle mic fork brace is not to lower your front fender. That's just a side benefit or an extra feature that you can use it for. The primary purpose is to stiffen the front forks here. KLR650s, the long fork tube, the problem is that the triple trees on the KLR were not really beefy enough and the fork tube's not rigid enough. One is at high speeds, highway speeds, you tend to get a little bit of high-speed shimmy, as I call it, where the front forks will start to flex a little bit as the tire is catching in various grooves on the road. So you get just a little bit of wiggle in the front forks. Some bikes it's worse than others. Mine was not all that bad, but I put it on here anyway. The second thing is if you're doing off-road and the front wheel tends to want to follow ruts. Yes, they do that anyway, but what happens is the flex in the forks, the front tire will tend to want to grab and follow a rut. So long story short, this brace that Eagle mic came up with was designed to stiffen the front forks and make them more rigid and perform like a solid unit, which is nice. By doing the front fork brace as well as the progressive fork springs, it really transforms the front end of this bike. So the way it works is that you have basically 5 parts to the fork brace. The 2 clamps that go around the lower fork tubes themselves are here. They're in 2 pieces. So they have, you can see here, you've got 2 Allen screws that clamp on. When you put that on, you keep it a little bit loose, and then you put your cross support here on the bike, and then you tighten everything up. So in this cross brace, as you can see, there's 4 holes that Eagle Mike has tapped into here, and that allows you to put a bolt in there to lower your front fender. That's all there is to the front fork brace. Again, the main reason, you can run it just like this with your fender up top, and a lot of guys do that, and certainly not a problem. But while it's here, you can also lower your front fender and attach it to that. So next, let's take a look at the setup for the front fender so that you can lower it and mount it to this fork brace. Okay, so here I want to show you a comparison of the two fenders. First of all, from the front, you can see the difference. This is the Acerbis Supermoto, and this is the UFO. Arch-wise, they're the UFO is just slightly flatter. I'll show you a side view, but from the front, you can see the top profile is a little bit different. Again, a little sleeker and smoother here, a little more angular and rugged there. On the back, the main difference is this is more pointed and has these larger vents here, and as well as this is a little smoother, again, a little lower profile. One note is that the UFO fender does not come pre-drilled. I don't know if you can see it, but I have marked my holes. I just basically took my other fender and laid it on top, made sure it was aligned, and then marked the holes in here. But it's because this is a universal fender, and so they ship it to you with no holes drilled in it, so that you can make sure that you get your own bolt pattern in there the way you would like it and get it positioned. So I'm going to drill these and get this installed. Again, kind of from the side, it's a little hard to see, but from the side you can see the UFO has a little bit less of an arch than the Acerbis, which is what I was going for. So now that this is off the bike, you can see where I had to cut notches out of the Acerbis fender to get it to fit down over the Eagle Mike fork brace. With the original Eagle Mike kit, these are the spacers that you receive along with these screws. These screws that ship with the Eagle Mike kit are 1 3/4 inch long. And that's fine if you're using these spacers. So your fender would go in here, this would go down, and then this would screw into the fork brace. So that gives you plenty of room with these spacers. But the problem is I had to cut my fender out in order to get down to where these spacers were. And when I was done, as I said before, the fender was just sitting too close to the tire. Originally, I had some Shinko 705s on the bike, and it worked fine. But then when I went with the Height K60s, it was just a little too close and it was rubbing, so I had to get it up off of there. So what I did is I went to the hardware store and just purchased some more bolts. And I also got these additional nylon spacers. So the way I have it kind of rigged up here is I'm still using the aluminum spacers, and then I'm also using the nylon spacers, and that lifted it up just about perfect to clear the fender height. And speaking of the fender height, the original fender height, as you can see here, was right about from the inside is how you want to measure that. So it's really about 2 1/4 from the inside of the fender, and the UFO is pretty much the same. So if we pull that out, it's just a hair over 2 inches, maybe like 2 1/8. The height from here to here is the same on both of these fenders. All right, so my next step is I'm going to drill my holes out here and then go ahead and mount the new UFO fender on the bike and see how it looks. Okay, so I'm outside here, and I've got my holes drilled in the Supermoto and the UFO fender. I reused the existing grommets out of the original factory fender and that I was using in the Acerbis fender, and it worked well with one exception. When I originally had the Fender on here without any modifications, it tended to set a little low in the front and slightly high in the back, about like that. And here's a picture of it when it was actually mounted to the bike, which is what it looked like. Nothing wrong, it worked fine, it didn't hit the tire, but I don't like that. I wanted it to set nice and level like this. So as you can see, it'll now when it's bolted, it's going to set nice and even. So the gap in the rear along with the gap in the front is going to be relatively the same. So how I did that is by shaving off, I came up just 1/8 of an inch in the back. So I essentially took a razor knife and I cut up into the fender as a stop cut. And then I left this the same as the factory and just slightly shaved back to take a 1/8 inch so that I could angle it back. And I did the same on both sides. And that seems to have worked pretty well. So just take your time. I took very small cuts and kept working it down little by little until I got it to where I liked it. I didn't want to take too much off in the beginning, and it's a good thing I didn't, because as you can see, 1/8 of an inch worked just about perfect. So what I'm going to do is go ahead now and put my hardware back in and mount it back to the fender, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so now we've got the fender mounted back on there, and as you can see, I'm glad that I took off the 1/8 inch here on the back in order to keep the spacing about the same on the front and the rear. It's a much more uniform look to it. One note that I did, when you take the 1/8 inch off the back of the fender, the bottom of the fender, you also need to take off an 1/8 inch from the nylon mount that I had on there, because otherwise the fender's still going to set at the same angle. So once I mounted it and it didn't look right, so I went back and I took an 1/8 inch off of the nylon mount, and then as you can see now we have that even spacing. I like personally having the fenders up off of the tire enough so that it'll clear any mud that gets in there. Hopefully will clear out pretty well. But overall, I'm very happy with the way that it looked. I think it has a cleaner look with the UFO fender. Another interesting note is that the UFO fender will come with a UFO logo sticker right here on the front, as you can see here in the picture. It does peel off nice and easy, doesn't leave any residue, so I was quite happy with that. I prefer the clean look without the sticker on there. It's your choice. You can keep stickers or add additional stickers, whatever you want on there. So I hope this gives you a better understanding of what it takes to lower front fender. Again, this is using the Eagle Mic fork brace. There are other brands of fork braces out there for the KLR. I like Eagle Mic products, and I've used quite a few on the bike, so I use that fork brace. As always, thanks for watching. This is Tim Two Wheels, and that's how I did it.